Thank you so much, Eric. That is fabulous. I'm so excited for our next guest, Steve Rizzo. He was a stand-up comedian and he changed it over to become a motivational speaker because he has so many great tips for us. I'm really looking for tips on how to be funnier, be a better humor being. He did a TED Talk on that. He's noted for his humor style and motivational speaking and writing. He's a member of the National Speakers Association and an inductee of the Council of Peers Award for Excellence. And he has done so many other things. And he has several books out. Becoming a Human Being, The Power to Choose a Better Way. And one of my favorite books, because I recently, actually, let's bring him on and then we can do this together. Come on, Steve Rizzo. Woo! So Steve Rizzo and I have actually known each other for quite a few years. We met on Jeffrey Gitomore's podcasts. Remember back in 9/11 days?
That's right.
And it went on at 9/11 and we were in our little box.
Yep.
And Steve worked with Jeffrey Gittimore a lot, actually. And
he's one of my closest friends. Yeah.
So they talk all the time, and I think they make each other laugh. Steve Rizzo even did the answering machine for when you call.
The Three Stooges.
Yes. So do your voice real quick for him.
Which message? The whole voice, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's had this on his. He has this message on his phone for 8 years now. Hasn't changed it. This is the Three Stooges. This is what happens when you call Jeffrey Gittimer. Hey, Mo, somebody's on the phone. What do I tell him? Well, you idiot. You just tell him there ain't no one home. Yeah, and tell him to leave a message after the beep. What beep? This one. Oh, hey, come on, fellas. Quit fooling around. Gittimer is going to be here soon, and we got work to do. Beep.
I love that. Isn't that fabulous? That's so great. Yes. Hi, Eric Flanor is here. Yes, he was part of the Gittimore group, and that's where we met Eric as well. That is right. That's right. And Facebook user, put your name in so I know who you are. I had a leash problem with my Dalmatian, and I broke my finger. But I met in person Steve Rizzo on January 6, 2024 of this year, when he spoke at the Ken and Glenn show in Dallas, Texas. And he was terrific. He was talking about releasing the power of your human being and who do you think I am? It was a very great talk about mindset and things that he brings up in his book, Conversations with Bob, which is really a good read. I really recommend this book. I have been enjoying it thoroughly, and I have many pages that I have folded down and highlighted because of the golden nuggets in them. Now, many of them I'm already doing, but it's always good to get someone else's perspective and know that you're on the right track. So when I saw him in January, I got mine autographed.
Yeah.
To Cynthia. Always follow your heart.
It cost you $100 for the autograph, too.
Oh, it's more. It's priceless. Peace and laughter, Steve Rizzo. So Steve Rizzo had some exciting stuff to tell us. And we want to show you this cute little 3-minute video that he is just going to go. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before Eric puts it on?
I decided to go out of the box, and I haven't done that in a while. And it's kind of strange because my whole career was based on doing what I thought was right. So I decided to do something where I can use a lot of my talents and captivate new agents in the speaking business and new clients that have had me speak to their organizations before. And I wanted to add a little levity to it. So I decided to create this 3-minute marketing piece. And I couldn't have done it without my director producer for my podcast, Bruce. He did a scrupulous job on this. So here it is now.
Bruce is wonderful. Thank you, Bruce, for this great work. And look at this, the Riz of Oz.
What made Steve Rizzo the mindset adjuster? Courage. What makes him a best-selling author? Courage. What makes Rizzo a Hall of Fame speaker, an all-star comedian, and an excellent teacher? Courage. It's obvious that he's done a lot. But what has Steve Rizzo got that I ain't got?
Courage.
You can say that again.
Hey, Steve Rizzo here, sometimes known as the Mindset Adjuster, shifting mindsets across the globe. Allow me to explain. First, I use my comedic skills to captivate the audience with laughter. Why? Because I can.
He was so funny, kept the crowd energized. I'd go back and see him again and again, and don't tell him this, but I'd pay a lot of money to see him.
Then once I know I have their attention, I gradually show them step by step how to shift their mindset from failure to success, from unhappiness to fulfillment, and from lack to abundance. Let's watch. Pretty cool, huh? You want to know what else is cool? My new book, Conversations with Bob, and my new presentation, The Bob Factor. If you've had enough struggles, if you feel that your life isn't working or needs to be tweaked on any level, personally or professionally, if you're waking up in the morning in a low mood, you just can't get motivated or feel inspired, have no fear, Bob is here. And my promise to you is this. If you embrace the common sense success strategies that are revealed, you will realize how much power you have over every aspect of your life. But you know what? Enough about me talking about me. Let's hear what some of my Hollywood friends and celebrities are saying about me.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the families for being here. In particular, Steve Rizzo, a great inspirational speaker, for making a difference in people's lives and for making them an offer they simply cannot refuse.
Hey, I just came back from a Steve Rizzo presentation. Oh, what an incredible experience. I only wish I could remember it. Oh, Steve Rizzo's on the cover of Total Prestige magazine. I just read the interview. No wonder this guy gets respect. Not me. I get no respect at all. I mean, the other day I told my son to take out the garbage. He said, you married her, you take her out.
You know what? I just read Steve Rizzo's new book, Conversations with Bob. Oh, I'm so inspired.
There you go.
Woohoo! Brilliant.
I think you froze. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? You froze a little bit right there.
Yep, I think we're froze, but just wait a minute. It will pop back. We'll just
Yeah.
continue on because I can hear you clearly.
I thought I was getting flashbacks from the 60s. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, we're good. We're good. So Conversations with Bob is really a terrific book, and you took quite a long time to write it. How long did it take you to write this book?
It took me 7 years to write, Cynthia. I started writing it at the lowest point in my life. It was in the middle of a divorce after 34 years of marriage, and it was my decision to leave. And I had a very difficult time with it. And I was I was in the speaking business, and at that time I was at the prime of my career. And there I was speaking to people on how to turn their lives around. And I was having a major challenge with myself. It was a lot of the guilt, a lot of stuff. And I decided I needed to do something to get my life together. And I moved from Long Island to Marina Del Rey, California. Some friends set me up, and I lived in a condominium there for 2 years. And I guess about 2 months there, I was walking on the beach, Venice Beach, at about 4:30 in the morning, which is not a very wise thing to do. And I just lost all control of my emotions, and I started yelling at God and screaming and cursing and demanding that he show himself. And I sat down on the sand, and the waves were hitting me. And after I let it all loose, I got up and I walked and I took a step and I said, what the hell is wrong with me? And what am I doing here? And no sooner had I said that, I heard a voice say, something within me said, you know why you're here and you know what's wrong. You're just too caught up in your own drama to find the answer. And I went, whoa, where is this coming from? Then I took another step and I asked another question and another answer came. Then I kept walking. Every question that I asked, another answer was coming. And I was just overwhelmed with emotions. I got into my car. I drove to my place in Marina Del Rey, took up my laptop and pen and paper. I'm writing and I'm typing. I was there for hours asking questions and getting answers immediately.
Whew.
And I was exhausted. I went to sleep. I must have slept about 11 or 12 hours. My body was beat. And when I woke up, I looked at what I wrote and I didn't remember writing 90% of the stuff at least. And I
Wow.
went, and I sat down again and I started asking more questions and more answers were coming. And I was doing this for days. And then one day it finally hit me and I said, whoa, I'm writing a book here. This is a book. And then my imagination set in. Then my sense of humor set in. And something else that I discovered as far as my ability to connect with people, and that's my ability to allow myself to become vulnerable, to let people know what I went through. And if I can go through it and find myself and connect with that higher part of myself, so can you. And that's what the book is really about. It's with two characters, Bob and Bernie. It's all dialogue. Bernie resides in the negative zone where challenges get blown out of proportion and problems turn into emotional havoc. And everyone, Cynthia, on this planet, everyone um, relates to Bernie's negative ways or experiences Bernie's negative ways and emotions throughout various stages of their lives. No one is exempt. But then you have Bob, good old Bob to the rescue. Bob is of your higher nature, your true self, your authentic self. Bob is God. Bob is the God part of you that always brings out the best in you, regardless of your circumstances. And all you have to do is to know that it's there and learn how to communicate with it. And that's what the book is about. And Bob offers Bernie throughout the entire book, every chapter, there are 12 chapters. Each chapter has a different lesson. Bob shows Bernie what he calls how to use common sense success strategies and shifting habits that will take him to a better place personally and professionally. It's funny. It's incredibly profound. And after I finished the book, after 7 years, I realized that it took me my whole lifetime to find out what my mission was in life. And that is to get the message out that's in this book. And the amazing thing, Cynthia, if I didn't go through this inner turmoil for a great part of my life, not just the divorce, but the other stuff that I went through before that, and that's the stuff I cursed. That's the stuff I complained about. But now I realize, now that I learned from it and I became empowered, those challenges, those things that I cursed have become my greatest blessings because I allowed myself to learn the lesson, why I went through it, and I wouldn't be able to be that spark that could ignite positive change in people's lives had I not gone through that crap first. I had to go through it to learn from it, to become empowered and let people know what I did to turn my life around, and they can do the same thing.
And what advice would you give to people starting that journey?
Well,
Besides run through it as fast as you can.
say that again.
I said, besides run through it as fast as you can and don't hang out. Just
Yeah.
gather the knowledge and
Well,
go.
when people get caught up, what they're doing when they get caught up is that they don't realize that our whole lives are based on energy. And if you're wallowing so much on what isn't working, you're not giving any room within yourself to find out the solutions and the problems to the situation. And we get so caught up in that negative stuff. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Here we go again. Why is this happening to me? Everybody else has what I want. I might try to do something and never works. I go 2 steps up, 5 steps back. Some people call this negative self-talk. I call it self-curse talk because you're casting a spell on your life. And the thing is, most people aren't aware that they're doing that. And they do it day in and day out until it finally becomes a part of who they are. And that's exactly what separates those people who are successful and happy from those who learn life's lessons and move forward in spite of their circumstances. It's all based on choices. But if you don't know that you have that part of yourself, it's hard for you to try to acknowledge it. But I'm letting people know it's there. And it doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it your higher self, your true self, your authentic self. I call it God. And in the book, God is called Bob. And I'm not going to tell anyone that's listening how God got the name Bob. You have to read the book to find out. But it's very funny. And it's very personal. And it's very emotional. And it will take you on an emotional roller coaster. The relationship between Bob and Bernie is how I always pictured how God really is, in my view. Most people look at God as someone way up there, someone who's going to punish you, and someone who's, condemning you to do this and that. And I think that's what's separating people from hardcore religion. And God isn't like that. God is there for you. God is to help you to find yourself, to forgive you, but he can't unless you're able to forgive yourself and to realize that you're doing something wrong with your life. And that's the biggest problem people have. People don't realize that their lives are broken because they're caught up in the syndrome. And the sad truth is you can't fix something unless you know it's broken. And then once you know something's broken, then you have to find out what the hell it is. And then once you admit it to yourself what it is, you have to face the facts that you're the problem. You are. It's you. But within you, there is a solution. And take the time, the energy to find out what it is. And that's what the book is all about.
And it is a great book. Has Doug Wing gotten his book yet? He just was on. Hi, Doug.
I think he did.
Different from his, but it is really,
Oh,
really
he's got a great book. I love his book. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I have his book too. I have it right over there, as a matter of fact. And I like something on page 90 in your book, Conversations with Bob. Don't clutter your brain thinking everything that needs to be done. Rather, think about who you have to be in order to get it done.
That's
Bob.
that's a common sense success strategy. Whenever I speak to my Fortune 100 companies, even high achievers, especially, Cynthia, most people wake up in the morning and they can't understand why when soon as they wake up, their energy level is down here. It's got to be up here. But that's because the first thing they do before they take the covers off is that they start focusing on the grueling day that they had the day before, all the challenges that they had, the fires that weren't put out, the irate people that they had to deal with, and the covers aren't even off. They're still groggy. I mean, I know people, I bet you a lot of people listening, maybe even you do this sometimes. Reach over to your nightstand, you grab your iPhone or some other ridiculous apparatus, and you start looking at messages that you think need to be answered before you leave the house. That's insane. Compound that with the crap that you just had going in your mind from the stuff that didn't work the day before. And now you start thinking of the stuff that has to be done on that day. And you're waking up, not realizing that that attitude, that low mood that you just got yourself in is going to be the mood that you're going to take with you for the entire day. It's a major key why some people can get things done as soon as they wake up, and some just snowball the negativity one step along the way. Here we go again. What else is going to happen? I knew this was going to happen. It figures. It happens every time. Not realizing that the law of attraction is in action. The more you focus on your lack, the more of that you're going to get back. The more you focus on what isn't working, the more your life won't work. You're asking for it. The universe is acknowledging you. If this is what you're asking for, I'm going to accommodate you. Your subconscious runs 97% of your life, and it doesn't know the difference between true or false. It only knows the information you program into it. You could be creating a belief system that signifies lack of appreciation, good things happen to other people, dreams are for other people, and you're not one of them. And you can't understand why your life isn't working. It's amazing.
Nick just joined us, and he is one of positive thinking after just going through a huge surgery
Yep.
and actually making an appearance at the Ken and Glenn show on, what was that, April 6th?
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, because he is already doing everything that's in your book. And Jim Miller says, well said, Steve Rizzo, you asked and you get it, good or bad.
Yep.
Even on page, what page is this? 85 is a really good section. It's the third paragraph. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to go to breathe in, breathe out, inhale, exhale. So once you feel a sense of calm, take a few moments to program your subconscious by repeating affirmations that begin with I am and I deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when he's telling Bernie before he goes to sleep. That's where the mindset that you wake up in the next morning starts. It's before you go to sleep and immediately when you wake up. I just gave you what happens when you wake up. But before you go to sleep, you have to create the mindset that is needed to be conducive, first of all, for you to have a good night's sleep. And second of all, on how you're going to handle with the challenges throughout the day. And a lot of people don't know that. Some people will watch the news right before they go to sleep.
Ugh,
Some people will eat a full course meal before they go to sleep,
ugh.
which is something which is devastating for you because your intestinal tract, your digestive system cannot handle that. You're lying down and your digestive system has to be upright in order for it to work. And your
Exactly.
digestive system, scientists are realizing it now, has a major function towards the brain. It's all connected somehow.
Of
And
course.
that's what we do to ourselves. And we're not aware that we have created these habits. So I go to sleep and I'm always grateful for something even minor. It's usually the minor things that mean the most. Uh, like maybe I went for my physical at the doctor's office and he said I had a clean bill of health, or it was a beautiful sunny day and I went for a walk and I'm listening to birds singing, or I helped someone do something, or someone helped me, or somebody gave me a compliment, or I read something that juiced me. It's those little things that can go a long way in your life. It's what an attitude of gratitude is all about. And gratitude is something that Bob reveals to Bernie that is crucial. It's an attitude of gratitude just catapults you to a stronger connection to that higher part of yourself. And it's all based on choices. Your entire life is based on the choices that you make. And for every choice you make, whether you make it consciously or unconsciously, there is always, always, always a consequence.
True that. And here's Dan saying he's grateful for us, like you and me. Woohoo!
I love Dan Altmeyer. Dan Altmeyer is
Smart, genius quality.
and God, I hate to say this, but he really is funny.
Yes, the two of you sometimes on our Grow Live Academy.
Yeah,
It's very fun.
He's so dry funny, and he knows it. And the first time I met him at a Gittimer thing, he was I didn't want to be rude, but he was saying things. I'm going, is this guy screwing with me? And I realized after a while he was, but that's what made him funny.
Yes, the unexpected little wisecracks that come out, and you go,
Yep.
Doug's eating his meal at the good time before bedtime. And what time do you go to bed, Doug? What time do you go to bed, Steve Rizzo?
8 to 9 o'clock. And I always eat like Doug, 4 to 5.
Excellent. And Eric's clearing his mind. He hasn't watched the news in a long time. Yep, that stuff is
Hey, you know what? I agree. It's important to find out what's going, especially today. But you don't have to wallow in it, and you can pick and choose your times, especially now where you can get the news anytime, anywhere. But do it on your time, not first thing in the morning and not before you go to bed. I always tell people, focus on what's working. When you wake up before you take the covers off, focus on what's working rather than fixating what isn't working. Focus on the things that you're blessed for rather than fixating on the things that's bringing you down. And we all have the power to do this. But we're a society that has just been so caught up in habits, and we're not even aware that we're doing the same exact thing every morning taking that attitude to work. And like I said, you don't realize as soon as you're starting a day, your energy level's down here. If you think about your responsibilities on any given day, maybe some people even have to take care of their kids before they're going to work. So think about that and think about the responsibilities you have in the workplace. Your energy level has to be cranked, and that's your choice and your responsibility. It's all depends on what you're focusing on, what you choose to focus on.
Exactly, and how you choose to treat others. A little smile, holding the door open for somebody, a
Yeah.
thank you goes a long way in making someone else's day even better.
Well, that's another thing. And that goes along with the gratitude thing. Sometimes doing something nice for somebody throughout the day. If you're in a bad mood, you try this sometime. I mean, a really low mood. But if you did something, if someone was having a tough time with their computer or whatever it is, they can't get their car started, your neighbor in the morning, and you offer to take them to work, whatever it is, the profound thank you you get from that person can elevate your spirit immediately. And that's gratitude. You're grateful that you did something for that person. And actually, that person did a more of an important thing for you because it took you out of that zone into a higher zone. Again, it's all based on choices. Always.
An attitude of gratitude is a discipline that's worth acquiring.
Yep.
It creates an immensely powerful connection to your higher power, the divine, God, Bob in this case,
Yep.
and it will carry you. And if you start with gratitude every single morning, anytime you just go to gratitude and you realize how lucky you are. We live in the best country in the whole world. We have everything. Take a moment and appreciate it.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. I believe, we live in the best country on the planet, but we're spoiled. And as every generation's going on, there are so many young people who feel that they're entitled. Life is not an entitlement. You've got to prove yourself to the higher part of you before you start going to where you think you want to go. Just because you went 7, 8 years to college doesn't mean you're going to start off as vice president or a CEO of a major corporate company. It takes work. It takes grit. It takes doing what you're supposed to be doing. But a lot of people don't want that today. It's because we have become complacent and we think life owes us. No, you owe life.
Mm-hmm. Our God put us down here for our assignment. We have to figure out our assignment and do it so we can go back to our next step. Even Willie
Absolutely.
Nelson says, when I started counting my blessings, my whole life turned around. From your
Well,
book.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know what, Cynthia? I have a brother that's 100% disabled from the Vietnam War. He passed away 2 Christmas Eves ago. The biggest inspiration of my life. He's the reason why I do what I do today. He's the only man in medical history that ever survived that wound. All the doctors said he would not be able to live more than 6 months. He lived an incredible life. Incredible life. He went from 168 pounds to 98 pounds. Was in a hospital for 7 months. And the thing that helped him to thrive, not survive, was his ability to focus on what was working rather than fixating what isn't working, to bless the things that life has given him rather than cursing what life has taken from him. It wasn't easy, but he did it step by step until he finally got out of that hospital. He decided he was going to college, which we didn't think he'd be able to do. He graduated with high honors, went back to the same school that he graduated from. He graduated with high honors. He became a history teacher, an attendance officer, then assistant principal, then a principal, and then he became superintendent of the entire school system. And when he passed away, that place was so crowded with people. The people that owned the funeral home, who owned it for close to 60 years, said, I have never seen this many people celebrating someone's life than your brothers. And
Wow.
he attests, I'm telling you, it's because of his ability to focus on what he had, to be grateful, rather than the doctors were always reminding him, 21 feet of your small intestine were blown out on the battlefield or taken out on the operating table. You can't do this and you can't do that, until one day he lost his temper and he said, I'm not going to listen to you telling me what I can't do. I'm going to prove to myself what I can do. and I'm going to prove it to myself and prove it to you. And from now on, we're doing it my way. If you can't handle this, then I need new doctors. And they agreed with him. And it took him 7 months to get out of that hospital. And he did it. He focused
Amazing.
on step by step. And look what he did with his life.
Amazing. What a gift.
Yeah.
He was following his assignment. I can't
Yep.
even imagine how many people were there. So he probably helped them plus another whole set because everyone has their circle of people around them.
The testimonials, the accolades that he got from his students and teachers when he passed away, there were over 500 Facebook comments from students from 40 years ago, 50 years ago,
Wow.
that are adults now thanking him for turning their lives around. When people tell me thank you for being a spark that ignited change in my life, I immediately thank my brother, because it's because of him that I'm doing what I'm doing.
What an inspiration.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
I'm just, wow.
Your life is in your hands. For anyone that's listening, your entire life is in your hands.
And it all starts with your mindset. If you can visualize it in your mind,
Yep.
feel it in your heart, believe it is so, you will see it in your world.
Yep. And when you watch podcasts like this, it's amazing what you can learn. One takeaway. I mean, look what Kimberly Stevens went through in her life and how she turned her life around. She's one of the most incredible people in my life,
Oh,
without a doubt.
oh.
And you know what she went through. She was on your podcast.
Yes, I do. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I love
And
her.
what one person can do, Cynthia, we all can. And for those of you that are listening saying, no, I can't, well, then you know what? You're right. If that's what you believe, you can't. Remember, again, your subconscious runs 97% of your life, doesn't know the difference between true or false. It only knows the information that you program into it. Your subconscious is the genie of your soul. And if you're saying to yourself, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, your subconscious is saying, okay, your wish is my command. I will give you more experiences like that in your life to solidify what you already believe, solidifying an already negative belief system. That belief system, that energy goes into the universe, and that's how the law of attraction works. The more you focus on your lack, the more of that you're going to get back. The more you focus on what isn't working, the more your life won't work. I could prove it to you. Haven't you ever noticed people who are always complaining about their ailments are always sick? People who are always complaining about never getting a break, never get a break. People who are always talking about prosperity are incredibly successful. Don't you think there's something to that? Like attracts like. It's energy.
And energy makes everything happen.
Yeah, but you have the power to transmute it, mute it. We all have energy going through us, and you got to figure out, what is that energy creating? Is it that lower energy that's creating nothing but havoc in your life and lack of inspiration and determination and motivation? Or is it the energy that's juicing you? Are you learning from your mistakes? Are you admitting that you screwed your life up from this point? And it doesn't matter how old you are. I started learning life's lessons recently. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years, but it's really in the past 10 years, I'm 72 now. It's only in the past 10 that I'm getting it with an incredible amount of enthusiasm, because I kept doing it.
Excellent.
Cynthia, I was voted least likely to succeed in my senior class in high school.
How horrible. What a terrible thing for someone to do.
I was told by a guidance counselor in 8th grade in front of my mom and dad at 14 years old, that this is his words. He said, well, Stephen, what do you want to do with your life? And at that time, all I ever wanted to be was a teacher. And he paused and he shook his head. Then they didn't have computers. He just had a stack of papers in a folder. My dad looked at him and said, well, why the look? And he said, well, let's just say that Stephen doesn't have what it takes to go to college.
Oof.
Now, my mom and dad were great parents, but they were from the old school. They didn't realize that they had a choice on how to respond. They figured this guy's got to know what he's talking about. Look at his title, guidance counselor. If he doesn't know, who does? So not only did I let this idiot tell me what I couldn't do with my life, I allowed him to tell me what he thought I could do. And I didn't think that bothered me in my life. I didn't think when I found the list on a administrative desk of the list that were going to be put in the yearbook, most likely to succeed, class clown, best smile, most popular, best dressed. And then I saw a list of 12 people, and I was one of the guys that were on the list that was going to be voted least likely to succeed. I didn't think that affected me that much until I went into my adult life. And I realized it was that type of negative labeling that molded the direction for a great part of my life. My
Ouch.
philosophy for most of my life was don't try and you can't fail.
Oh, Steve.
But look at me now.
Hugs. Look at you now.
I
Look
need
at
a hug.
This is a virtual hug, but you can't see it until my camera comes out. I might just sign out and come back in. Can you tell a story while I try to leave the studio and come in and see if
All
that
right,
works?
do that. But this is going great. I think your viewers are going to understand. But go ahead, go in and come out again, and I'll just keep talking.
I want you to tell a story. Maybe you tell something new.
Okay, I could tell. Put me on the spot, why don't you? Okay, I can do that. Okay, I know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Here's what I'll do. And for those of you that are here listening, and by the way, thank you for your comments. And those of you who are going to be seeing this after the live event, I have to say one of the things that really sparked me a while back was with one of the first personal development books that I ever read was The Road Less Traveled by Dr. Scott Peck. Maybe some of you read it. On the first page, the first sentence, it blew me away. He says, the first sentence, life is difficult. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, I know that, you idiot. That's why I bought the book. Don't go telling me this stuff. I know. Tell me what I can do to make it undifficult. But then he goes on to say, are you there? She's here. Good. But then he goes on to say, perfect. Then he goes on to say that I want you folks to get this, that once we come to the realization and admit to ourselves from the get-go that life is going to be difficult and you're going to be confronted with challenges, life really does become easier because you don't have any preconceived ideas when something does go wrong that life is picking on you, pulling you out from the crowd, or a higher power is punishing you for something that you did or didn't do right. So I think that's what we have to teach our children. I think teachers need to tell students without sugarcoating it, go for your dream, live your life to the fullest, but you will be confronted with difficulties, with challenges, with problems. But there's something within you that can meet any challenge, any problem, any difficult situation with more ease than you possibly can do. You can deal with it. There's something within you that can meet it head on. And that's what kids need to know. Life is beautiful. You can achieve your goals, but it's not easy.
And they could start with little children's books, even that Little Engine That Could book.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And
the principles to start off early so that you can get to this book.
Well, that's right. And you're exactly right, because that's the same thing. That's just the adult version. I think I can. I think I can. And Bernie always thought that he was being screwed. And Bob was telling him, Bernie, you're screwing yourself. And then Bob says to Bernie, because I'm going to tell people this at the beginning of that book, you'll see there's a dialogue going on between Bob and Bernie. And Bernie breaks down and says, you didn't answer my prayers. Why didn't you answer my prayers? And he gets into this emotional upheaval. He's crying his eyes out. He goes, I begged you. I pleaded with you for help, for guidance. Do you have any idea what it's like to see your friends and your peers and your fellow workers achieve their goals and getting the things that they desire? Do you know what it's like when you're not getting these things? You never answered my prayers. So then Bob listens to him and he takes a moment and he says, well, I did answer your prayers. but you pray with the same negative attitude that you have about life. And yet, Bernie, my friend, you expect a miracle. And Bernie says, well, of course I expect a miracle. He says to Bob, isn't that your job? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? And Bob hits him. And I think this is the most profound thing in the entire book, because this is what causes the conversation to really intensify. Bob says, wait a minute, Bernie, have you ever heard the saying, God helps those who help themselves? And Bernie said, yeah, I've heard it my whole life. And Bob goes, well, apparently you don't know what it means. And Bernie goes, what do you mean? He goes, Bernie, you have to meet me halfway. For me to answer your prayer, you have to meet me halfway. You can't pray for peace of mind on any particular day, then get in your car and start cursing at everybody in traffic. You can't pray for success on a particular goal that you're trying to achieve, and just a week goes by and you start going on a negative rampage. I knew this wasn't going to happen. Things never go my way. He goes, Bob says, what do you expect? You squash the seed possibility of that prayer that's just about to manifest. You squash it and you pull the roots out before it even has a chance to manifest. And that's how the conversation begins. When you're praying for something, you got to know it's going to happen. You got to visualize it. You know it without a doubt, and it may take time. But you set yourself back or you squash it totally because, as Bob says, doubt in prayer is the great nullifier. It'll nullify any prayer.
Can fix anything by just
So,
do. Would love do.
what's that?
What would love do?
Well, that's the last chapter in the book, and that's my favorite chapter, the L word. Because
Yes.
after Bob gives Bernie all this common sense success strategies and shifting habits, he lets him know that if you really want to catapult your career, if you really want to get the most out of everything, you always have to come from a state of love. And you can't ever expect to love other people unless you love yourself. And that was Bernie's biggest problem. You can't love yourself if you're walking around berating yourself. You can't love yourself if you're jealous for what other people have. You can't love yourself if you screw it up and you can't forgive yourself. You can't love yourself if you're feeling guilty for things that maybe you really did do or that your parents told you did, but you really didn't do. You have to be able, and we all have the power to do this, and Bob explains it explicitly on how to do this. Love is the key. It's the catalyst. It's the main force in life. As Bob says, I am love and love is me. You are love and love is you. And I think one of the funniest lines is when he says, all you need is love. And he goes, John and Paul were right. And Bernie said, you mean the apostles? He goes, no, the Beatles.
Yes. So good. So good. So good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But it truly is. This book is the reason why I was put on this planet. And it's starting to take root now, Cynthia, and it wasn't easy because, this book is talking about God. This book is talking about a higher power. And I didn't know if corporate America was going to be, with this politically correct era, able to absorb what it is that I'm saying. Are these meeting planners going to go, oh, man, we better watch it? Maybe 1,000 people might like this. What all it takes is one person to complain. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'm starting to do it now. And I just gave a full day seminar on the Bob factor from the book. It's, come from conversations with Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a leadership presentation for a very big company.
Excellent.
In San Diego. And it killed. They all related to it. Everyone purchased the book. And that was an answer to me from Bob. Now you're preaching, Rev Riz.
Love it, Eric. Eric is a great preacher. He is.
Can I hear an amen, Eric?
Here. Amen.
I love Eric. I love
Amen.
Eric. I love Nick. I love all these guys that are on. Yeah,
We're
Doug.
a fabulous
thank you.
family. We are family.
I got my brothers and sisters with me.
Woohoo! 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 Woohoo!
I like our color combination.
Yes.
It is pretty cool.
I'm the sun rising or setting, and you're the sky.
On the sky. I am the eye in the sky looking at you. I could read. Say yes, yes, say yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. You got to love Eric. He's just, yep. Someday we're going to meet my friend in person. I don't know
Wonderful
when, but I
heart,
know it's going to
wonderful
happen.
spirit, great supporter,
Yeah.
cares about all of us. Oh,
I
look
know.
at who's here. Hey, hey, hey.
Here he is.
Oh, agape love and business. Yep, that's wonderful too, Joseph.
Yep. Good to see you, Joe.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. We got a good Glenn Morshower one too. I'm a person through whom and for whom exceptional things happen on a regular basis.
Yeah. I love Glenn Morshow.
He is fantastic. I just enjoyed 3 days with him and Carolyn and our
Yeah.
group. It was fabulous in
And then it
Dallas.
was in January. It was me, Ken, and Glenn. And I met Ken 2 years before that, a year and a half before that, at an event called Rock Your Life in Dallas, Texas. Excuse me. And that's the first time I saw Glenn on the stage. I've seen him in movies and TV shows, but every time he takes the platform, I get emotional every time.
He leaves it on the mat. He gives everything. It is so inspirational. If you can ever go see that, you will just rise up and be a better person forever because he is so inspirational and has such he leads by example. He is brilliant, brilliant, such a good man who goes the extra mile. He went the extra mile for me, and I'm still pinching myself. I am just in wow,
Yeah.
absolutely in wow. It was
Yeah.
the most transformative weekend ever at any event that I've ever been to. Touched my heart, touched my soul, raised me to a new level. Just my whole circle of friends, having Steve and Glenn and Ken and Dan and Eric and everybody that's here and Joe. And I can't see my messages here, but my whole world is so much better than it was pre-COVID. It's amazing what our little boxes have done for us.
I so agree with you, and I think you might have seen it. I gave a video testimonial for the Ken and Glenn show that I was a part of. And I just wasn't blowing bullcrap to people. Cynthia, I do this for a living. I speak anywhere from 20 to 10,000 people.
Sweet.
And there was something about that particular event. There was an energy, not because of the presenters per se. It was the audience that was feeding off of us, the presenters. And we felt that projecting towards us that energized us to give more back to you. I was exhausted when I went home from that 3-day event. I must have slept an entire day, but it was a good exhaustion because it was the camaraderie in between the presentations. It was the evening dinners. It was the heartfelt hugs and goodbyes. And look what we're doing. We're connecting as a result of that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like a snowball effect, a magical snowball effect that affects people.
And that's just a couple of tips for when you attend these things. Don't just run out. Don't just come in and if you're a speaker, don't just run in, do your thing and leave. Come, get to know everybody. If you're in the audience, Cynthia and Steve, what do you both see as important more than ever? Changing people's attitudes to give back instead of take towards others. Giving back makes your heart sing. It just is the mission, the reason for being on in this universe, to fulfill your destiny and help. It just makes you so much happier. Steve, answer that for Joe.
The only reason why I do what I do because I know I'm giving, and this isn't boasting. I know from all the crap that I went through in my life, I'm finally in a position where I can be the spark that could ignite positive change in people's lives. And I teach people these strategies on what I learned. I give them my blueprint, what I learned about success and happiness, not what other people learned, what I learned and how I learned from these other people. And because I learned these harsh lessons, I learned everything the hard way, Joseph, everything. But the blessing is that I did learn it. So my goal is to show people you don't have to go through the shit that I went through to get to a better place in your life, personally and professionally. We're all born with these common sense, innate common sense success strategies that can take us to a better place. It's just that we get so caught up in the crap of life that we're not aware that we can tap in to these parts. And that's why I wrote the book. That's what the book is all about. I'm not saying this for you to buy the book. I'm saying this is what I learned. And knowing I'm doing that, someone's asked me at one of my workshops once, well, you said you got it, Steve, at a later age. Don't you ever regret that, gee, what if I would have learned this 40 years ago? And I said, no, there's no regret at all. And they said, well, how could that be? I said, because I am so living in the moment now. My mindset doesn't even think about shifting to the past. It doesn't. Why would I want to say, I should have done this, I should have done that? I stopped shooting on myself a long time ago. I'm here now. It took me this long. I'm grateful that I found out what it is. And now I'm in a position where I can do it. Why would I want to go back in the past when the past is gone? The only time that makes sense, folks, is the moment. The human condition today either is wallowing on so much crap that happened to them in the past, bringing it into the present moment, or they're worried about what might happen in the future, totally avoiding living in the moment. The only time that matters is now, right now, right now.
Exactly.
Every
Right
second. Yeah, right now.
We're giving everyone a virtual hug. I can give a virtual hug now. Woohoo!
What's the matter with you people?
Yes. Because
So
go ahead.
So
Oh,
Dan
wants the Eddie Murphy story after you.
Yeah,
finish.
I was just going to say Dan wants. Okay, I wasn't prepared for this, but because I love Dan, I will do that.
Because we love Dan.
Let me start off by giving this a little preface first. I have been blessed. That's shitting on yourself. Stinks. That's pretty funny. Oh, Dan, come on. I got to give you an Archie Bunker. Oh, geez, help me, Lord.
Yeah, I'll get rid of all those kids and coulds.
I have been blessed, and one of my greatest strategies, and the reason why I do well on the platform is because not only do I give the common sense success strategies, I've been fortunate enough in my life to know some incredibly influential people who are incredibly successful, and for those who are very famous who destroyed their lives. And I have taken their stories. So every time I give a common sense success strategy, I always exemplify it with a famous person and a famous story, which just brings it home. Okay. You know, because today we live in the United States of entertainment. All right. So people like to be entertained. So when they hear about a famous person exemplifying the strategy, it hits home more. So one of the biggest lessons when I talk to people about having an impeccable belief system, and this was one of the most incredible things that I witnessed, and it still sticks with me now. And I know, as well as I knew him back in the day, I will run into him someday. I know I will. And I'm talking about Eddie Murphy and what it means to have such confidence in yourself and such an impeccable mindset and belief that nothing can interfere with your dream. And I want to explain this. When I was doing stand-up, I was teaching part-time. And performing with me quite often was this young kid named Eddie Murphy, who was 17 years old. Wasn't even allowed in the comedy clubs, but they let him in. And he was brilliant on and off the stage. He had a persona, an attitude on and off the stage that to this day, I don't know of anyone that had that. It wasn't conceit. It wasn't an ego. He had this aura. Now, I'm 13 years older than him. You know, I already went to college. I went through a lot of crap in my life, and I'm teaching full-time, doing comedy part-time. And I was always admired by his intention and his ability just to kill on stage. And one day after the second show, we're both on the marquee, me and him, and then there's our opening act named Frankie. And we're sitting in the green room after the first show on a Saturday night on Long Island, Eastside Comedy Club. And we're talking about what we want to do with our lives. You know, where do we want to move from this point? So Frankie starts talking first. and he's a plumber full time, and he's doing comedy part time. And he started stuttering. There was no direction. He's going, well, I don't. Hopefully, I really think I'm good, and maybe if I'm lucky, I could do this full time, and I don't have to do the plumbing anymore and support my family. And gee, maybe I think I could headline and maybe tour. Nothing definite, nothing substantial. So then Eddie asked me, Steve, what about you? And I wasn't much better than Frankie. I'm going, well, as you know, I'm teaching full time, but I plan on leaving soon. Probably this is going to be my last year. And I think I have what it takes. And I think I can do this. And I think that. And I'm stuttering too. So all of a sudden he said, Eddie, what about you? He stood up. He looked at me square in the eyes and looked at Frankie square in the eyes. And he said, guys, I'm going to be to comedy to what the Beatles are to music.
Come on with it.
Cynthia, he said it with such confidence. There's no way we were going to say, you're full of crap. No, it wasn't his ego. He wasn't bragging. It's as if this young man had a crystal ball and he saw his life unfold right before his eyes. And that's what Bob is saying to Bernie in my book. When you want to succeed, when you're praying, you got to see that prayer already manifested before it appears in your life. You have to believe, you have to have that emotion that it's there, that you could feel it, you can touch it. He actually saw himself in Madison Square Garden. 4 shows, which he did, by the way.
Of course he did.
Sold out. And that's the persona he had. It was an impeccable belief system. And in my book, Get Your Shift Together, he's in that chapter. Believe it and you can achieve it. And I've seen him do it. He even said, and I remember it, I will do a movie with Robert De Niro. And he did. It was that cop movie. I forgot what it was called. And that's a perfect example of the law of attraction. That's the perfect example of knowing you have what you want before it manifests. He lived it. He had that attitude on the stage, off the stage. He never drank alcohol. He never did drugs. And the story continues. It's too long to tell the whole thing. But I think that point says it all to everyone.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So go back and figure out what you want to be at the end of your life, right? Where you want to be. Start manifesting that vision. Write it down. Do a board. I'm working on mine, as a matter of fact. Put it here, and then go back and write all the steps you need to do to get there.
And not just write it, see it.
See it. Do it. Be it. Breathe it.
Go for a gratitude walk. And thank God that you already have it. Thank you for this. And feel what it would feel like to drive in the car that you want. Feel what it feel like to know that you're making a difference in people's lives and people coming up to you. Feel yourself, if you want to be a speaker, on stage speaking to these people, and that you're igniting something within them. And if you do that every day, and that's the tough part, if you could do that every day, you'll start seeing stuff happen to you that will be absolutely incredible.
When you go to bed at night, you're doing your breathing.
Yep.
Laying it out. When you wake up in the morning, you're starting there, starting with your gratefulness. I've said it before. I start with my toes and work all the way up to my body before I get up. Drink your water, eat healthy, think what you want to do. Bob, successful, happy people know without a doubt that they become what they think about day in and day out.
That's the truth.
And anytime you're feeling low, think about what you're grateful for. Just think, you got 2 legs, you're walking on the street, you're sitting in your car, you've got eyes to see, ears to hear, a voice to express yourself. You can use your hands. And if you don't, you found another way because you're here, alive, carrying out your mission. And we are so grateful for you. And Steve, you've been such a fantastic guest. I love you so much. I want to thank you. Do you want to leave us with a joke? I need some humor from your human being.
She's putting pressure on me again.
I can't help myself. You're so good. But we need to. Oh, there we go. There's Craig. He loves you too.
Craig, it's good to hear from you. Good to see you. Let's connect. I'd love to talk with you, man. I hope you're doing well. because you deserve it. Love you. Love you. Love you.
Absolutely a pleasure, Joe. Thank you for being here. We love you guys. It is so much fun, and we're waiting for one more joke. And Eric's still here. Right back at you, Eric.
If what I'm going to say, instead of giving you a joke,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you people to go to my website, go to my YouTube channel on the website, right down below, and just look at some of the funny stuff that I've done in my career. That's all you got to do. And start your day off every day to search for the laughter within you and around you. Laughter is the pit stop in the rat race of life, and that it gives you enough emotional fuel and repairs to get back into the race again. But the initiative and the proficiency by which you allow yourself to laugh comes from what I call your humor being. Every one of us has a humor being within them. Unfortunately, most people go their entire lives never knowing they have it. The more you use it, the more it becomes a part of who you are. The more it becomes a part of who you are, life becomes significantly easier.
And if you're joining us late, go back to the beginning and catch the first of 7 minutes where you can see Steve Rizzo's new
marketing piece. Yeah.
Marketing piece where he is every voice from The Wizard of Oz.
Got it.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much, Cynthia. You were wonderful.
Thank you so much. You're fabulous. We love you. We can't wait to see what else you're going to do.
Me neither.
Because you are amazing.
You are amazing.
I am amazing.
We are amazing.
We are amazing. God bless you.
Love you.
Special prayers. Thank you, Jim. We love
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
Always a pleasure. Thanks,
Love
Craig.
you too. Love you too, Craig.
Always a fun time. Mwah! Hugs and kisses. And a virtual
boy.
hug for you, Steve.
Love you. See you later. Let's talk later this week.
Well, you can hold on a second. He'll turn it off, and then we can